What if I told you the cat on that old VHS tape isn't anyone's pet? It was never filmed, never fed, never even seen in real life. And yet, every time someone presses play, there it is. Same spot, same frame, hissing through the static. And the room on screen? No one recognizes it. Because no one has ever lived there. The footage wasn't labeled. It wasn't even found inside a case. It was inside a wall, wrapped in string, stuffed in insulation. And whoever left it there didn't want anyone to see what the tape captured, because they made sure there was no VCR in that house. Not until the house was sold. Not until someone brought one in. Not until they pressed play. It started in the fall of 2002 in a quiet residential street in Florence, Oregon, a coastal town where fog lingers longer than it should and the trees seem to press in from all sides. The house at 58 Lambert Drive had been empty for years. A real estate agent named Lorna Hughes finally managed to sell it to a couple from Portland, Mark and Jamie Ingram, who were looking for somewhere quieter to raise their first child. The structure was old, built in the late 1970s, never renovated beyond the basics. It was during a renovation project in the upstairs hallway that Mark discovered something odd. Behind a layer of drywall, inside the space between two wooden studs, was a neatly sealed VHS tape wrapped in plastic and bound tightly with string, multiple loops, as if someone had wanted it sealed forever. The odd part? The string wasn't knotted in any ordinary way. It was looped in a repeating figure 8 and held in place with melted wax. Black, waxy residue fused into the tape's edge. There were no labels, no markings, just a faint fingerprint embedded in the plastic. Out of curiosity, Mark brought it inside. They didn't own a VHS player. Who did anymore? But they managed to find one at a local thrift shop. Jamie plugged it in that evening while Mark was finishing dinner. The tape began with a deep burst of static, the kind that rolls like thunder through the speakers. Then silence. And then the image flickered into place. A small, windowless room with plain concrete walls, a metal chair in the corner, no door visible, and crouched just barely in the lower right corner of the screen, a cat, jet black, perfectly still, its eyes open, unblinking, its body unmoving, but its mouth wide open, as if caught mid-hiss. And here's where things started to fracture, because there was no sound. But every time they looked away, even for a second, and looked back, the cat had changed. At first, Mark and Jamie thought it was just a trick of the eyes. VHS tapes are low resolution after all. Static distortion, magnetic warping, these things could cause visual glitches. But what unnerved them wasn't just the inconsistency of the cat's position. It was the precision. In one frame, the cat sat completely still, its mouth frozen in a silent snarl. A second later, after a brief flicker, the head had turned ever so slightly toward the lens, then back again, as if it had never moved. They rewound the tape. Pause, frame by frame. But the head didn't move. In the replay, everything was static, frozen. And yet, during live playback, the changes returned, subtle but undeniable. Jamie began documenting the shifts with her phone, filming the television screen during playback. And then, late into the night, she noticed something that pushed things beyond the explainable. At exactly 1:34 a.m., while watching the third rewatch of the tape, the image on the screen twitched. Not glitched, not distorted, but twitched, as if the entire frame jerked an inch to the left. And the cat was gone. In its place was the same concrete room, same chair, same absence of sound. But no cat. Then, after 4 seconds of perfect silence, the screen filled with static again, violent and loud. Jamie screamed, not because of the noise, but because in that sudden burst of distortion, a new frame emerged. Just for a moment. She swore she saw the hallway of their own home, the exact wallpaper, the light switch with the scratch mark on it. And standing there, half cut by the static line, was the same black cat. Its mouth, still open, still hissing. Jamie didn't sleep that night. By sunrise, she had compiled 3 short clips of the VHS playback, each showing minor changes in the cat's position, the hiss, and most disturbingly, that single frame of their hallway. She uploaded the footage to a private drive, then called her brother, Ryan, who had worked in analog video restoration for a local museum. When he arrived later that day, Ryan was skeptical. "These old tapes do weird things," he muttered, setting up his equipment. "Ghosting, tracking errors, frame bleeding, none of it supernatural." But as he watched, his face hardened. He paused the tape, then paused again, rewound, fast-forwarded. The glitches weren't acting like regular tape damage. They were precise, repeating on the exact second each time. "Whoever made this," he said slowly, "if it was made, they embedded something deliberately. But that would take frame-by-frame overlay work. It's almost like—" He trailed off. "Like what?" Jamie asked. He looked at her. "Like the tapes reacting to you watching it." Later that night, Ryan left with a copy of the footage to analyze further. But the next morning, Jamie received a single text from him. Not digital, not magnetic, nothing added. This shouldn't be possible. Then silence. Calls went straight to voicemail. When Jamie went to his apartment 2 days later, it looked lived in, untouched. Nothing disturbed, except his TV. The screen was on, just white noise, and sitting perfectly centered on the floor in front of it was a black VHS cassette. Not the copy she gave him, a different one. No label, no markings, just a single scratch along the front, like a claw mark. She brought it home, reluctantly, slid it into the VCR, and there it was again. The cat. This time, in a different room. Not concrete walls. This time, it was her own kitchen. And this time, it wasn't silent. Through the fuzz and crackle, a sound bled through the speakers. Not a hiss, a low, rhythmic purr, but backwards, almost like it was mimicking speech, stuck in reverse. Jamie didn't finish the tape. She ejected it halfway, heart racing, and placed it in a drawer she locked with shaking hands. She didn't sleep that night either, and by morning, something even more unsettling greeted her. The drawer was open. The VHS tape sat on top of the TV. She lived alone. At first, she tried to rationalize it. Maybe she forgot to lock the drawer. Maybe the tape slid somehow. But VHS tapes don't move themselves. Still, she didn't call anyone. Because what would she even say? Instead, she began checking all her mirrors, all her screens, any surface that could reflect. And she noticed something, small, subtle, but growing, in every reflection, whether it was the turned-off TV, the window at dusk, or the oven's chrome handle. There it was, a faint shape of 2 ears, triangular, still, watching. The cat wasn't on the floor. It wasn't in the room. It was in the reflection, only in the reflection. Even when she closed her eyes, she could feel the stare. A week later, Jamie tried to destroy the tape. She took it to the backyard, poured lighter fluid, and set it alight. It curled, melted, sputtered black smoke. She felt relief. Until that evening. When she walked back inside, the TV turned itself on, and a voice, clearer now, came from the speaker. Not purring, not reversed, just a whisper. "You watched. That's enough." She ran out of the house. Didn't sleep in her own bed for days. But it didn't matter. At a friend's house, in a motel, even in her car. The static followed. Sometimes on the radio, sometimes on a stranger's phone screen, sometimes in a passing window as she walked by. And always, always, the hiss returned. Not loud, not angry, just present. A constant, soft warning. Jamie eventually moved across the state. She changed her name, got rid of every screen she owned, TVs, phones, even reflective appliances. Her home had no mirrors, no windows at eye level, and no internet. It didn't help, because whatever it was, it didn't come through the screen anymore. It didn't need to. She started hearing the hissing in her sleep. Not loud, just close. Sometimes from under the bed, sometimes from the ceiling corner, where shadows gathered unnaturally thick. Neighbors said they'd seen a stray cat pacing outside Jamie's house, always at the same time, always walking in a perfect square around the property, never meowing, never eating, just walking, in loops, as if tracing something. One night, Jamie recorded herself sleeping, just audio, no cameras. She played it back the next day. 10 minutes in, she heard her own breathing. 30 minutes in, scratching. An hour in, the hiss. Then, at 2:44 a.m., clear as glass, her voice whispered into the recorder, "Why won't you let me out?" Except, she had never said those words, and her mouth never moved in the recording. Only the voice, low, desperate, not hers. It was the last tape she ever recorded. Jamie disappeared a week later. The house stood empty for months. Eventually, it was sold to a new family, a couple with a baby and 2 dogs. 3 days in, they posted in the neighborhood group asking a strange question. Did anyone else hear a cat hissing last night? There was nothing outside, but the baby monitor. The post ended mid-sentence. Their account was deleted the next day. There are stories that fade over time, but this one, it never truly left. Because sometimes, horror doesn't howl. It hisses. Software constant, unrelenting. And if you've ever had the feeling that something in your house is just slightly off, a mirror catching a movement that didn't happen, a screen flickering for no reason, or a low, drawn-out hiss when everything else is silent, ask yourself, what happens when what you see isn't what's real, and what you hear isn't even supposed to be alive? Some tapes never should have been made. Some recordings never meant to be played back. But now that you've heard it, it's already begun. If you want to uncover more unsolved cases like this, strange files that slip through the cracks, and horrors that no one wants to talk about, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below. What do you think was on the tape, and who was really hissing back? And remember, not every glitch is a mistake. Some are warnings.